This is the Tree of Life, Season 3, Chapter 7. In this episode, we will be exploring a new concept, that of the hybrid network of consensual and non-consensuality, which defines non-linearity and the conjoined consensuality. To begin, in earlier seasons we talked about how just beyond the consensualities of most individuals is non-linearity, a space of pure consensuality. There were several rules that defined that consensual space. Namely, that you act on every impulse, that you act with total commitment, and that you accept the consequences of doing so. This space, found in between states of distraction, at the edges of our conscious perception, comprises the conjoined space, beyond what would be the non-consensual boundaries of your average person. Which is to say, that the limits which separate the conjoined consensuality and the pure consensuality of non-linearity are defined by a hybrid network of consensual actors. These actors define the limits of consensuality by creating the structures for criminalization and civil liability within a state. Most notably by defining the criteria and nature of consent. These intellectual structures provide the framework which creates the boundaries between the conjoined consensuality and the pure consensuality of non-linearity, which are essentially non-consensual boundaries. Which is to say that the network of consensual actors who create this boundary have, as between them, a consensual space, which is transposed upon the conjoined consensuality defining non-linearity. The imposition of these non-consensual boundaries is enforced through deference, which is to say, that individuals within the boundaries of the system are compelled to act out certain behaviors, that is, to act within the pure consensuality of non-linearity, according to the rules which define that pure consensual space. Essentially, by defining the boundaries of non-linearity and imposing upon those within the system the rules of that pure consensuality, this network of consensual actors maintains two spaces of action. One in which they maintain the ability to extend their conscious awareness through deference, compelling action further to the imposed expectations, the non-consensuality, which maintains the conjoined consensuality of the system, and a second pure consensuality, which is nonlinear. They act as gatekeepers to this space by defining the rules of admittance to this purer consensuality through expectations imposed on social actors as deference. Now, what are the expectations which are imposed by the network on system members through deference further to the maintenance of the conjoined consensuality? There are two components of this deference. 1. The imposition of expectations on individuals further to the enactment of social norms and permissible and non-permissible behavior, meaning consent. These are essentially the conditions of the conjoined consensuality. Secondarily, the rules of the pure consensuality, which is non-linearity, which are imposed on system members in tandem to the basic framework of the conjoined consensuality. What are the attributes of non-linear actors? They possess some degree of group consciousness. They possess some degree of immanence, albeit unconsciously, by extension of imposing the conditions of the conjoined consensuality upon other social actors. But their imposition of deference exists, within states of distraction, in those not admitted to the pure consensuality of non-linearity. To summarize, 1. They define the limits of the conjoined consensuality by determining the conditions of consent. 2. They maintain that consensuality by imposing deference, that is, expectations that compel compliance, on social actors who violate the limits of that conjoined consensuality, that is, spatial non-consensual actors. 3. They create as between them a pure consensuality, just beyond the bounds of the conjoined consensuality, embedded in states of distraction of those not admitted to the purely consensual space, which is non-linearity. Finally, I call it a hybrid network, because although they are non-consensual actors within the conjoined consensuality, they are consensual actors within non-linearity. Ultimately, the goal of these social actors is to eliminate spatial non-consensual actors to the extent possible, by integration of them into the pure consensual space of non-linearity. That's the end of the podcast for today.